Hello and welcome back to another episode of the There Is a Floodlight That Never Goes Out podcast. Today I'm joined by Ed Marsh. How are you, Ed?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Unfortunately today we're not joined by Will, but rest assured he will be back for the next episode. Today we're doing a match preview of the Matchday 40 fixtures in the Championship. I think we're just going to go through each game as it comes. So, naturally, let's start off with the early kickoff, which is Middlesbrough-Watford. What do you think about this one, Ed? Because on paper, it looks like it's another guaranteed win for the Hornets.
Absolutely, but it comes back to the old adage, never back the early kickoff. So,
Yeah.
It's the sort of game that plays into that adage very, very well. Middlesbrough lost the last two. Watford on a streak of games with wins, so despite the phrase that often rings true, I'm still going to go for a Hornets win. Against us on Good Friday, we made them work, but you could still tell there was just that little bit extra that they had, that they were leaving in the tank if necessary. Obviously, João Pedro hobbled off against us. I'm unsure as to whether he's going to be in a fit state to play, but I would suggest not with the nature of his exit on Friday. But the strength and depth they've got, I see no reason why they can't continue their winning streak.
Yeah, and I know we talk about never back the early kickoff, but I think a pattern I saw with a lot of games on Good Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday. I don't think many teams actually got out of, I wouldn't say first gear like Giddins did, but second, third gear, because Watford, if they ramp it all the way up to fifth, they're sensational, and I think they will today. I can't see anything past a Watford victory. The only way I can see Middlesbrough getting something is if they do nick an early goal, and a stellar defensive performance would see them pick up all 3 points. Looking at it more broadly, then. Do you think if Middlesbrough lose this, that's their faint playoff hopes definitely gone?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think this sort of last chance saloon for Borough in terms of getting playoffs. You're on 56 points, Reading on 63. I think.
Yeah.
They'd be looking at this game as if you want to seriously go for it, we need to be winning this. Which could give them a bit of extra fight, but you compare Middlesbrough this time last season. Obviously Neil. I've tried not to call him Colin there for obvious reasons.
Colin. I think everyone listening will know what you're referring to.
We don't want to offend him. Love to hate him, But then obviously, if you're a Borough fan, you would take this season, in my opinion. A solid top 10 finish would be welcome. So, are they really playoff contenders? I don't know about you, but I've never really considered them to be. But it's just that sort of any faint hopes would go with a loss.
They've always been on the periphery, haven't they? And they've never seemed to take their chances to break into the playoff mould like, Barnsley have, Cardiff have, and probably earlier on in the season you could have seen Stoke maybe making a run for it. But at no point of Middlesbrough really threatened. However, they have made that 10th, 9th their position all season. So yeah, I think a top 10 finish for Borough would be welcome, considering the disaster that was Jonathan Woodgate last. Moving on then, we've got Reading versus Derby next, which is a huge game at both ends of the table. Starting though, from Reading's view, 1 win in their last 5, but 3 draws in that, so not terrible. But they have a very, very strong record at home. How do you see this one going, having watched, the Reading versus Barnsley game on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Barnsley, and they're quite obviously direct team. You look at Derby, and they're a fairly direct team. I think prior to Derby's win on Good Friday against Luton, there's been a shoo-in for a Reading win and a Reading 3 points. But fair play to the Rams; they showed a bit of fight there and a bit of quality. But Reading, it was probably a deserved draw against Tykes on Good Friday. They'll know just as anyone, that Bournemouth are sort of breathing down the back of their necks, and they'll need to start picking up wins soon.
Definitely.
I'm going to go for a Royals win.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. And, even as a Barnsley fan, I've got to be honest, 999 times out of 1,000, Lucas João just walks around 100%. The keeper and sticks that in the back of the net. And Reading pick up the 3 points and they go into fifth. With an extra bit of firepower, maybe Lucas João dropped, and George Pushkas coming in. I know Reading fans, have doubts about his ability to play as a number 9 on his own, but maybe something we see. It was an excellent result for Derby on Good Friday, but I just cannot see that victory turn into something bigger. So yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. I think we'll see a strong response from the Royals to probably a disappointing draw really on Friday. Moving on then to Blackburn versus Bournemouth, another big game in the playoff picture. How do you see this one going, Ed? Because Blackburn have been pretty woeful since January, really. And, a big defeat here could be the final nail in the coffin for Tony Mowbray.
Absolutely. We talked in the last pod about, Mowbray's status, and is he gone too far now? I think it would be unfair to sack him off the back of a loss against a very good Bournemouth side, which, that's spoiler alert. I'm going to predict a Bournemouth win here.
Yeah, right.
But, they just seem a team devoid of any ideas. It's a very good squad on paper for the Championship, and obviously he's going to get a tune out of them. For Bournemouth, credit to Woodgate in terms of, he's got him playing a bit of form, 3 wins in the last 5. So, is Woodgate the right man, though, for Bournemouth in the long run? It's a whole different conversation, but no. Could he, sneak them into the top 6? I think the sheer quality of that squad will single-handedly get them into the top 6, and I don't see Blackburn Rovers being a big obstacle in that today.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. All Bournemouth need is for 3 or 4 of that starting 11 to turn up, and they will turn over most Championship sides. I mean, their front 4, however much Barnsley were the better side and did beat them at Dean Court. When you have Arnaud Danjuma, Dominic Solanke, Junior Stanislas, at times they had Billing running at us. It's a fearful proposition for most Championship teams to come up against, and a team struggling for goals, conceding a lot of them in Blackburn. I cannot see anything past another win for the Cherries in this one. Moving on to a game that affects Wednesday gravely. Coventry City take on Bristol City. And, Coventry are in real danger now of dropping down to League One. So I think this is a must-win for them. Would you agree on that?
Definitely. Especially with Birmingham's recent uptake in form, and, how many times we'll mention Rotherham's games in hand, who knows, but obviously Rotherham's games in hand.
Yeah.
But, Bristol, they are the team you sort of want to be playing right now. They're the out-of-form team, apart from maybe Blackburn Rovers in the league.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely a case of beach syndrome, as I like to call it, in the Bristol side. They know they're going to be just pretty average season and go again next campaign. Coventry, they'll be scrapping for everything. But will it be a step too far? I'm going to actually predict a draw on this one. A 1-1, 0-0. A sort of cagey affair. Coventry, just have they got that firepower and that clinical edge? We've seen time and time again this season they unfortunately haven't.
Well, I think Mark Robbins will certainly demand a response because it was very poor at Loftus Road on Good Friday. But yeah, in terms of firepower, Coventry, their XG suggests they should be much higher in the table than they actually are. A big boost for them will be having Matty Godden back. But then again, didn't make that much of an impact on Good Friday, so can't comment on that one too much. I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I can see Coventry just nicking a win, and I think there'll be definitely a mix up in that starting 11. I think Callum O'Hare will come back into the 11 and show his class. So a Coventry win there, which puts Sheffield Wednesday deeper in the mire, I hope. Moving on then.
Should go to the first couldn't care less game of the game week.
Yeah, 100%.
Stoke versus Millwall. The two teams sort of epitomise the definition of such a game. It doesn't affect anything, let's face it.
No, it doesn't. It's your typical Monday, April the 5th championship game.
Absolutely.
It's monotonous, really is. Do your score prediction and get out sort of game.
100%. Don't dwell.
Table-wise, it's 10th v 11th. They've both got 3 wins in their last 5. They've both got similar goal differences. They've got the same amount of points. It's like, could two teams be more evenly matched but have less to play for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, we're being a bit cynical in terms of, we've just included Borough in the possible playoff contention. They're both only a point behind with better form. So if they pick up a few more wins on the bounce, then before you know it, teams like Reading, Bournemouth, and yourself drop points. Before you know it, they're a serious contender. You often see a team make a late dash into the playoffs, and could it be
a very late dash?
It would indeed. It's tough to give a prediction on this one because they're both pretty evenly matched sides. Neither play particularly attractive style of football. They both play a similar sort of pragmatic approach. I can see it just sort of being a 1-1, 2-2 sort of game where neither side particularly wants to lose it / can be bothered to waste the energy to lose it or go and win it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they'll both. I think Millwall will be a little bit leggy because their game against Rotherham really did go down to the final second on if they could pick up the 3 points in that one. So I think they will be a little bit leggy. Whereas Stoke, quite comfortable win at Bristol in the end, even though the stats might not have suggested so, with a 2-0 win there on Good Friday. So yeah, I can see Stoke just edging Millwall on this one, but you're right, Ed. With no disrespect to either of the two sides, it will be a pragmatic game between two pragmatic coaches in Gary Rowett and Michael O'Neill. Moving on then to probably one of the biggest games this week, and it's certainly the biggest game for me. Luton Town versus Barnsley at Kenilworth Road. We had Wayne Goodison on in the last episode, and he saw this one going as a 1-0 win for the Tykes. You made a 2-0 victory prediction. Has anything changed? Has anything altered your view?
No, not at all. Look, Luton are no pushovers. We know that they had a very respectable campaign, but again, it's sort of that comes to the end of the season. Understandably, that sort of innate fight won't be in them anymore, because they are so mid-table. Whereas you look at yourselves, and it was a team that fought before the position they're in, and now obviously they're in the position they're in. They're only going to fight more. So I think the desire alone will get you over the line.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you on that one. But Luton are a side. They're a team of scrappers, and this is by no means knocking the quality in their team because they certainly have it, and they have it in abundances. But they're a team of scrappers, and their manager embodies the type of team they are. He will shout for every decision, which is rather annoying when you're playing against them, I've got to say. And Barnsley and Luton do have previous. They were both promoted from League One together. Barnsley haven't actually beaten Luton in any of their last 3 meetings, but I agree with you on this one. I think Barnsley will have just a little bit too much, and the return of Carlton Morris to the 11, possibly Apo Halme as well to win those aerial duels. And if Daryl DK is fully fit, I can see nothing less than 3 points for the Reds. I'll agree with you, and I'll go 2-0 Barnsley with Carlton Morris second half brace. Moving on then to another monotonous game, Nottingham Forest versus QPR. Yeah,
fair play to Forest for the win at Cardiff. sort of definitely cemented their position in the Championship next season. Not that it was really in any doubt.
Yeah.
QPR obviously, they are one of the informed teams, and again, I saw some fans on Twitter, possibly half in jest, half serious, saying, "Can we make a late dash to the playoffs? Be very late, as you previously mentioned." And fair play to Matt Warburton for the way he sort of turned that round, because I know at the turn of the year there was a lot of calls for him to be sacked, and a lot of them were justified. But it's another one of those. I feel like when you get to this stage of the season, with these sort of games, they're very hard to predict, because there's nothing to fight for particularly, and so you sort of see some not half-hearted performances at all, because it's still a professional game. But compared to other games, it's a bit more unpredictable. But
Yeah.
I think QPR on their day could do a job on Forest, so I'll go for QPR. But if Forest perform like they did against Cardiff and the likes of Garner step up again, then this one could definitely go in favour of Forest.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything there. If Forest's key men turn up in Ghana, if Knockout has one of his games that are reminiscent of, his 2016-17 season, or even if Lewis Grabban just decides to run about a bit for the first time this season, I can see Forest maybe picking up 3 points here. And QPR, if that little magician Elias Chair decides he wants to do it, I think that they're well on course. So yeah, it's hard to predict. They're very well matched, but I will go for a 1-0 Forest victory in this one. Moving on to a game in Wales then. Swansea taking on Preston at the Liberty. Swansea's form has been horrific recently, with 3 losses on the trot, including one of those against Birmingham City in their last match, who were 20th. Preston's form has been even worse. This game, as much as the table would suggest it's easy to call, I can't call it.
Look, I think, if you're a Swansea fan, this is the perfect team to be playing right now, Preston. Preston aren't out of the relegation. They're not safe, in other words, definitely, especially the form they're in. At the end of the day, Swansea, since the turn of the year, really, their performances have been steadily declining.
They have,
and it's culminated in these obviously 3 losses. Their position in the playoffs is by no means safe. But I think at the end of the day, at some point that form will have to turn around, and we'll see the Swansea of old. And whether that comes through a last-minute penalty, who knows? But I see a win for the Swans.
Yeah, and I think a lot of not a lot, their victories this season have come off the back of having a really strong defence. They've only actually scored 45 goals this season, which is, it's only 3 more than Huddersfield in 18th. But 30 goals conceded, which is, the 3rd best defence in the division. And we were only talking, a couple of months back, could this Swansea side, concede the least goals in a Championship season ever? I think they conceded something ridiculous, like only 9 goals by the time we got to January. But yeah, if Mark Gurhey returns to form and, Freddie Woodman starts making them wonder saves again, I can see them picking up 3 points today. But I think there's a lot of onus also on their attack. Jamal Lowe hasn't scored a goal in 10 games.
No, he hasn't. He's been disappointed in the second half of the campaign.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if Andre Ayew was on a similar run if you take away his penalties.
When you sort of relying on Morgan Whittaker to be your leading you up the top of the pitch, let's face it, it was a Derby youngster. Did he sign for $1 million?
I think it was around that fee, wasn't it?
Yeah, and is he really the man you want to be leading at this age? He's only 20. So one for the future. Scored 1 goal for Derby. Hasn't got a goal in the league. For Swansea, that's a bit of a warning sign for me. I think, did he score in the FA Cup? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I
But
think he might have done in that win against Forest.
it's no disrespect to the lad. I'm sure he'll have a great career. And he's obviously highly thought of. If Steve Cooper's all right.
So yeah, Swansea's only wins in their last 6 have been 1-0 wins away at Luton, where Luton should have certainly had a couple of penalties. A dodgy 2-1 win away at Stoke, where they got a penalty from the breeze blowing someone over, it seemed, and that horrific performance by the referee in their 2-1 win over Borough. So without the luck of the referees, there's a chance they wouldn't even be sitting in the top 6 right now. But yeah, I back them to get back to winning ways in this one, albeit with only an edgy victory. So I'll go 2-1 Swansea. Not a lucky penalty, but just a very edgy game. Moving on
Definitely.
then to a huge game at the bottom.
Massive game.
Rotherham versus Wickham. I'll let you take the lead on this one because it means a lot for Sheffield Wednesday.
It does. I mean, the irony is I could be sat here tomorrow when we review the games, and we could be bottom of the league.
Yeah.
And I would be happy about that, if that makes sense, from the point of view that, for obvious reasons, we need Wickham to win this game. However, then if we subsequently lose to Cardiff, Wickham would go above us.
How would that feel?
Bittersweet. Look, just to clarify my stance on survival, I think there's a 99% chance that we go down this season, but there's always that 1% whilst Coventry and Rotherham are still there. Wickham, they're in a decent bit of form, 3 wins in the last 5. Obviously the win against Blackburn on Good Friday, the draw against Coventry before that. It'll be 2, if I keep using that word, pragmatic sides. A
lot of pragmatic football in the Championship, though, isn't there?
There is. So, I'm begging for a Chairboys win here, and I really think, they could do it because Ainsworth, I feel like, is a proper motivator.
Yeah.
To his squad, and like I said, if they win this game, all hope is not lost for them. They could do the unthinkable.
Well, I think if Wickham survive from here, it'd be the greatest escape, and we've seen some great escapes over the last few years. But on their budget, I think it's ridiculous that they're even, not cast away at the bottom of the league.
Absolutely.
The very concept that they could move above you with a win with only 6 games of the season to go is ridiculous, even if you did pick up a points deduction.
Yeah.
But, more onto the actual game itself, do you see Rotherham doing enough? They've been not disappointing at the Den because they got, Michael Smith's penalty. It's a lottery, and the red card was, it was soft. Let's say, but do you see them doing enough in this one?
No.
No.
No. I mean, obviously, we talked previously about their away form.
Yeah.
Obviously, this one's at the New York Stadium. I just, maybe it's the bias in me, maybe it's the hope in me that Wickham beat them, but there's something about that Wickham side that I really admire, and I think they give everyone a tough game. That apart from maybe the Brentford, was it 7-2, which for I think about 60 minutes of that game they matched Brentford, but they've matched every single side they've played pretty much. They're no pushovers, so I'm going to go slightly optimistic, but for a Wickham win. Right.
Yeah, I think it is optimistic because I do see Rotherham doing just about enough to get the win. Maybe even if it's just a bit of magic from one of Ladapo, Smith, Ben Wiles, one of their better players, but I just can't see Wickham picking up this win. Paul Warne, I think I might have mentioned it before, but I think he's a brilliant manager. And you talked about, Ainsworth's motivating skills, Paul Warne's motivating skills are right up there with the best gaffers in this division as well. So, Yeah,
I agree.
I can see it being a pragmatic game, like you said, but I think Rotherham will just about do enough. And with that,
I guess
nearly climb out the
we should
bottom
also
three.
we should maybe also mention the omission of Richard Wood, who got sent off against Millwall.
Yeah.
You know, he's a real talisman at the back. You know, could his lack of presence affect the Millers? I think it definitely will. But yeah.
I mean, I might be wrong here, but will this game see a return of Matthew Olasunde for the Millers? Was he the guy who got sent off at Hillsborough?
No. It was Michael Smith that got sent off at Hillsborough.
Oh, smudger!
And then
it got appealed.
Rescinded.
Apologies, Millers fans.
I'm pretty sure Olasunde scored the own goal.
That was it. Hopefully, a repeat of that doesn't happen for Wednesday, in the sense that Rotherham pick up a last-minute winner to all but relegate you. I say that with bated breath. I would love that to happen.
Yeah.
Right, then moving on to the evening kickoff, and I think we'll leave the Sheffield Wednesday game until last, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
But Brentford v Birmingham kicks off at 7:00. Brentford then, wouldn't say bottling it, because I think that'd be unfair on them, because their last 4 games, 3 draws and a win. It's not bad, is it? But, did probably a disappointing result against Huddersfield.
Definitely, an undeserved one.
Yeah.
I think we should stress that. They deserved the win there. But yeah, definitely. It was slightly worrying. And when you're talking about Swansea dropping form, I think you've got to include Brentford in that as well. The way that, only a matter of weeks ago, it was who out of Watford, Brentford and Swansea are going to get that second place. And now it's,
it's Watford.
It's Watford, isn't it?
It is Watford's, yeah.
And, we've seen 2 polar opposites in terms of form from those 3 teams. But I think Brentford could feel harshly done by with the draw against the Terriers. But Birmingham, Lee Bowyer's got a tune out of them.
He has.
Can't disagree with that. But there's something about Lee Bowyer that I'm not convinced by.
I think he's and
I can't put my finger on it.
I don't think
there's something about him.
Yeah, it's not to the same extent, but I think he's a little bit like streaky Lee Johnson. Like, he'll just go on a run, and then all of a sudden it'll stop and you'll just lose loads of games in a row. Like Charlton at the start of last season, I seriously thought they could get in the playoffs. And then they got relegated.
Yeah.
So I don't really think he's a very good manager, but for some reason he does pick up results in streaks. And he has got a tune out of this Birmingham side, which has looked pretty lacklustre all season. But yet again, Birmingham look like this might be the year they go down. Then the last 6 games, the sack a manager, and they'll do just about enough to stay in the league. It's the typical Birmingham City that we've seen over the past few seasons in the Championship.
It is.
But like I say, just because he's on such a streak, I think Birmingham might pick up a win.
No, I can't see a Birmingham win here. I just think Brentford's quality at the end of the day. I think, Blues. I think there's almost not an idea of safety, but if they continue to play like they will do, these games against likes of Brentford aren't going to matter in the long run.
Yeah,
they'll stay up. Brentford, obviously, they like I said, the form table perhaps a little bit unjust towards them.
Yeah,
and they're a top quality team who can turn anyone over. It sounds a silly point, but especially because it's at Brentford Stadium.
Yeah.
With the quality of pitch, St Andrews, it's in shocking condition. And we saw, Coventry when Brentford went to Coventry. Well, St Andrews, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They got turned over and they couldn't really play the game, partly down to Coventry's tactics, but I think the pitch plays a part in that. So I'm sounding like Ty from Arsenal Fan TV. With it's been raining. Sort of.
Got to remember, Robbie, the pictures. It's been raining, so the pitch is a bit wet. What a man! What a man!
Absolutely, but no, I think I think the Bees will have just
Yeah.
that little bit too much.
Yeah, maybe. I'd like I said, it's just my gut feeling, and I feel like Birmingham will go there, and Christoph Pedersen will score a 20-odd yard header like he did last time off a Mark Roberts throw in from the halfway line. So yeah,
Wow.
1-0 Brum. Moving on to the only game that takes place tomorrow, and that is Norwich City versus Huddersfield. I think it'd be silly of us to automatically presume the Norwich win like we did in our last match preview against Brentford, because it's come back and it's bitten us on the arse a little bit. But, you know, they're at home to Huddersfield, who, albeit haven't lost in their last 5, but only achieved 1 victory. I think Norwich will win this, but haven't won in their last 2. So, how do you see it going?
Yeah, obviously the weekend defence of Norwich wasn't ideal on Good Friday, but the likes of Mumba put in great performances.
Yeah.
Huddersfield have sort of just, I don't know how to word it, you know what I mean? They've just sort of gradually picked up the performances and are just sort of eking their way out of the relegation picture game by game. Not in sort of amazing style, but in enough style to get those results. Norwich, I guess their only real concern is they're looking around the corner at Watford thinking we might lose a title here, but even then I don't think they will. So, again, it's a bit of a meh game. Neither side's particularly got much to play for.
It is, because Norwich are already there, it seems, doesn't it? So every game they play is just the pre-season for when they eventually get to the Premier League.
I think for Norwich, it'll be about just sort of wrapping up that guaranteed promotion as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's only 2 or 3 wins that would do that for them mathematically, on the assumption that Brentford and Swansea start picking up results. So for them, it's just about how quickly they can get this season over with. Obviously, try and then go and win the title, but an experiment and see what works, what doesn't work. So I think I see a Canaries win.
Yeah.
For this one.
I agree with you, but I think the only way the Terriers can get a win is by playing on that weak in defence of Norwich's, I think Huddersfield's front lines, it isn't great, but the one thing it is experienced. And, they can play on the young lads like Omabami Dele and Ballymumba to try and, not force them into errors, but, old man them a little bit. And it's something Barnsley have had to deal with this season, players just using their experience to help them. I think that's the only way Huddersfield do pick up a result. I see nothing past the Norwich victory. So moving on then to the game that we did say we'll leave till last, and that is Sheffield Wednesday versus Cardiff City. Is this the last chance saloon for Wednesday?
100%. I said going into the preview of Good Friday's fixtures that we need 3 points from the next 2. We now need 3 points from this game.
Yeah.
On my preview, I put a 2-0 win. I said, from the rhetoric of, it's a time of miracles, let us have one, sort of thing.
Right.
Look, I think have Cardiff sort of run out of steam a little bit at the wrong time. I think they definitely have. I guess, we've seen signs of improvement amongst the Wednesday team since Moore's appointment, and I definitely think had he been appointed earlier, we would have stayed up. Unfortunately, Moore won't be at the game because he's got tested positive for COVID-19, and I think whilst ever you can be sat home with an earpiece in, unfortunately, that will serve as a negative to our team. But of course, I hope he gets better and he's makes full recovery. So then that sort of leaves it down to the players themselves, which I guess is sort of a blessing in some respects, because we get to see whether they actually have got this fight that they keep banging on about. And I genuinely think they do. 90% of that squad, I think, genuinely care about this. I'm not sure if you saw on Twitter, it embarrassed me slightly to say this, but the TikTok that Sheffield Wednesday made
about Bannon,
he was unreal against Watford. If he can drop a performance like that today against Cardiff, I think we'll be okay.
I think that performance backed up everything what what we stated on the Wednesday Barnsley special a few episodes ago, in the sense that Barry Bannon, if he turns up, is brilliant, but he's massively underrated.
Definitely.
You know, all you need is for him to turn up and you've got a chance against any side. But having been there, you know, a lot of times since I started watching Barnsley, I know it's like down at the bottom. And, you know, last season, there's plenty of games in our last 10 or so where we'd be at home to a team like Cardiff who were up there. And, you know, we'd put up a good fight, we'd match them for quality, but wouldn't be able to get the job done and would end up drawing, you know, 0-0, 1-1. And sadly for you, I think this is the way this game's going to go. I think it'll peter out into a 1-1 draw. And I think, you know, albeit even with a Wycombe win, it might prolong your hopes a little bit longer, of staying in the division. But it's a must-win tonight. And with a Rotherham win and a Coventry win, you'd be 10 points adrift of 21st with a loss. And it's just something that you can't overturn that many points at this stage of the season. So yeah, it's a must-win for Wednesday. I think you can win it, but like I said, just off my own experiences last season, I think it will be a draw. And you've got to keep Kiefer Moore quiet as well. It's key for Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you let Kiefer Moore into that game, he will punish you.
I mean, they'll be without Sean Morrison, which will, you know, aid us. Aidan Flint, we obviously was on loan at us at the start of the season, so I'm clutching at big straws here. But, you know, will the likes of Windass Rhodes know his weaknesses and strengths? Probably,
I think everyone in the Championship knows his weaknesses, and that's playing football. Kick the ball in the air and he's okay, but he can't kick a ball.
And that's something that I think serves us, because under Moore we've changed our approach and we very rarely play those long balls. So I think the likes of Windass and Rose could hopefully catch him out. We obviously beat Cardiff in the reverse fixture. The first game of the season in the days of Monk.
Jesus, that seems so long ago, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Back when Izzy Brown was playing, the glory days. Yeah. So, no, I think we shall see. But if we don't win this game, League One promotion charge inbound next season.
Well, I think that's being hopeful. I think that's been very hopeful. I think that just about covers everything that we wanted to cover in today's pod. This week, I think it's really exciting for the podcast. I'll just mention it at the end of this one, and Ed will agree with me. We've got some really exciting guests coming on the podcast that we'll be tweeting about in the next few days. And
absolutely cannot wait.
We want to get your questions in for them. So when we tweet out, you know, who we're getting on, please do reply, and we will try our very best to answer all of them. We're also now on Spotify, so we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a follow and a listen on there. As always, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, like us on YouTube, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.